What is happening with Bryce Harper as you and I are conversing right now?
Well, as with all free agents, what ownership does, they sit down and meet with you and discuss the opportunities and the futures of their franchise. And, for free agent players, they sit in rooms for 3 or 4 hours and hear presentations from teams and have discussions about, what choices they have ahead of them in their future. So it's a process where you have to limit. You have to kind of, in Bryce's case, you certainly have to limit the number of teams that are on the list of meetings. But it is it's something that I think for a player you sign and in effect it's almost 8 or 9 years before you have the right to do this. So it's a long-awaited right, and really something I think every player looks forward to, because they get to hear about the futures of organizations and how they fit in, and it's a very valued choice for a player to make.
So when you say you limit the number of teams that are going to sit down with him, what's the number?
Well, we really don't go into that because it becomes a defined lottery, if you will, because the way we do it is we just kind of sit down and say to teams that unless something occurs differently in the future, he's going to meet with an initial round of teams, and then if he's not pleased with what he's heard, he'll certainly reach out to you. But when you're a generational player, which is a rare free agent, someone who's that young and has really, through his performance, established a record that would say that you're going to be a Hall of Famer, because every player who's done what Bryce has done prior to age 25, they are a Hall of Famers. And so and then there's the other aspect of it for him that is different, because he's iconic. He's demonstrated in the franchise. He increases franchise value. He puts additional fans in the seats, and the TV ratings are dramatically higher once he's on a team rather than they were before it. So all these things play into the mainstream of how you appropriately evaluate it.
Okay.
Evaluate a player.
So in terms of the pool of possibles for Bryce Harper, let me just walk through this door here. There was a report that he turned down, and you guys turned down, a contract offer, a significant one, from the Nationals at the end of the playing season while they were still in exclusive bargaining right with him. Is that a fact?
Well, I would say that the negotiations with the Nationals continue, and that certainly the Nationals have approached Bryce while he was under their employ to discuss the future relationship. A lot of things that are reported aren't particularly accurate, but the truth of the matter is they've diligently expressed interest and continue to express interest in returning Bryce to their franchise.
So is it fair to say the fact that he turned down that offer is, as you point out, a long-awaited right to hear from everybody? Is that the reason why?
Well, I would say that in the relationship, a lot of times teams want to begin a discussion. The Nationals had an advance on that because under the rules they could begin discussions. And so as to whether or not, where those discussions go, it's just a continuum. So there's not been any decisions made yet because we had to review a whole host of teams and evaluate the process. But certainly that the right of free agency is it's just something that it takes. Literally, the bargaining agreement says 6, but the way they manipulate the rules, it's really 7 years once you're in the big leagues, and then players have minor league service. So it's a right that it takes almost a decade to get to for most players, and so it's really something that you want to review before you make any final decisions.
Okay, a couple more questions on this. Scott Boras, agent of Bryce Harper and more, here on the Rich Eisen Show. So he has not taken any sit-down meetings with any teams yet?
Oh, no. We're very deep into the process.
Oh.
We've met with many clubs, and we're still, reviewing, a number of the team's opportunities. And so, the process has been in fold since November.
Okay, so we're down the road here. What's the timeline? Is there a timeline here, Scott? Give me a general sense of the timeline.
I think it's of course, that's something that's up to Bryce and the team that he, pursues to final. But, as you get into this, it just takes a while to get through that volume of teams. And once we've completed that, I think there's opportunities to begin making decisions and have advanced discussions. Probably, usually it takes. Sometimes the process can be 2 weeks, and sometimes it can be 3 months. So it's really hard to determine what the timetable is because it depends on really both sides making directive decisions as to how to achieve all the wants of each club and player.
Are you going to wait for Machado to sign first? Is it a waiting game?
I don't think that Machado has anything to do with Bryce Harper. I think it has to do with the fact that you can never predict how this process unfolds because owners make the decisions as to when players sign contracts and how how advanced they want to be in a negotiation. So sometimes they happen. I've had them many times happen in November, and I've had many. And at a recent time, we've had them happen in March. So it's something that is probably more unpredictable than ever as to the timing of these things.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.